You think betrayal hurts until you hear it whispered in a hospital room while your spouse fights for his life. I rushed in terrified I might lose my husband, and instead, I found out I'd already lost him months ago. The moment I heard my best friend say, "He's mine," something inside me didn't break it, transformed. They thought I'd crumble. They had no idea who they just created. That night at St. Anne's Medical Center changed everything, not because of the accident that brought us there, but because of the truth that slipped out when they thought I wasn't listening. My name is Emily Carter, and until 6 months ago, I believed I had everything a 34-year-old woman could want: a stable job as HR coordinator at Northfield Solutions in Crescent Harbor, a husband who still left notes in my lunch bag, and a best friend who knew every secret I'd ever whispered in the dark. Looking back now, I realized the universe had been trying to warn me I just wasn't fluent in its language yet. Logan and I had built what everyone called couple goals. 36. Charming in that effortless way that made other wives nudge their husbands at parties. He worked in commercial real estate and could make anyone believe they needed whatever he was selling. We'd been married 8 years, together for 11. Our friends used us as their relationship benchmark, the couple who still held hands at restaurants, who posted those carefully curated Sunday morning coffee shots that collected hearts like promises. Then there was Sabrina Hayes. If soulmates existed in friendship form, she was mine. 15 years of history woven so tightly I couldn't tell where her stories ended and mine began. We'd survived her parents' messy divorce in college, my father's death 5 years ago, career changes, heartbreaks, victories. She was the sister blood hadn't given me, but life had gifted instead. The kind of friend who had a key to your house and permission to raid your wine collection without asking. That Thursday started like any other. I remember the details with painful clarity now, how the October light slanted through our kitchen windows at 6:30 p.m., turning everything golden. I was making Logan's favorite, that complicated mushroom risotto that required constant stirring and the perfect amount of white wine. He'd been distant lately, but I'd attributed it to the waterfront development project consuming his time. Marriage had peaks and valleys. We were just in a valley. "Smells amazing, he said, appearing in the doorway already dressed to leave. Dark jeans, the gray Henley that brought out his eyes. But the guys want to catch the Lakers game at Murphy's. You know how it is client bonding. The guys, always the guys lately. Brandon from the office, Marcus from the gym. Names that floated through our conversations without ever materializing into dinner invitations or couples' nights. "You've been out 3 times this week," I said, keeping my voice light while stirring the risotto. "I made your favorite." He crossed the kitchen in 2 strides, kissed my temple quick, efficient, already halfway gone. "I'll make it up to you this weekend. Promise. Maybe we'll drive up the coast, hit that winery you love." The winery we hadn't visited in 2 years. Another promise to add to the collection gathering dust in the corner of our marriage. I watched him grab his jacket, check his phone twice before pocketing it. When had he started password protecting his screen? When had he begun taking calls in the garage? These questions flickered through my mind like moths, there and gone before I could catch them. "Don't wait up," he called over his shoulder. The door closed with a soft click that would echo in my memory for months. I ate alone, the risotto congealing into something unrecognizable, scrolling through Instagram where Sabrina had posted a photo from her yoga class. Self-care, Thursday. Namaste, Jacques best life. Her smile radiant. Her designer workout clothes pristine. She'd canceled our lunch plans twice that week work drama. She'd said her marketing firm was landing some big client that demanded all hands on deck. By 9 p.m., I'd cleaned the kitchen until it sparkled, reorganized the spice rack, and started a load of laundry. Anything to avoid acknowledging the empty space beside me on the couch. I was halfway through a true crime documentary when my phone exploded to life. The number was unfamiliar. Crescent Harbor General Hospital. "Mrs. Carter, this is Dr. Rodriguez at St. Anne's Medical Center. Your husband has been in an accident." The world tilted. The remote fell from my hand. batteries scattering across the hardwood floor. Is he? I couldn't finish the sentence. He's stable, but you should come immediately. He's been asking for you. Asking for me. Those 3 words propelled me through the house, grabbing keys, purse, jacket, the muscle memory of crisis taking over. The 15-minute drive to St. Anne's felt like seconds and hours simultaneously. Every red light was an eternity. Every turn a negotiation with fate. The parking garage was a concrete maze. My footsteps echoed off the walls. Too loud, too real. This was happening. Logan was hurt. My husband, despite the valleys, despite the distance, was lying in a hospital bed, and I needed to be there. The fluorescent lights of the emergency entrance were harsh, unforgiving. They turned everyone into ghosts of themselves, pale and hollow-eyed. The smell hit me next, disinfectant, failing to mask something deeper, more primal, fear, maybe, or just the scent of life interrupted. Logan Carter. I gasped at the reception desk. He was in an accident. Dr. Rodriguez called. The night would split into before and after at exactly 9:47 p.m., but I didn't know that yet. I was still living in the before, where betrayal was just a word in other people's stories. The corridor to room 237 stretched endlessly, each step echoing against linoleum that had seen too many desperate journeys. The overhead lights hummed with that particular frequency that only hospitals possess, a sound that burrows into your bones and reminds you how fragile everything really is. My hands trembled as I passed rooms where other people's tragedies played out behind partially closed doors, muffled sobs, hushed conversations, the mechanical breathing of machines keeping watch over the living. Room 237 was at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar. I could hear voices inside, one definitely Logan's, rough but conscious, and another, softer, feminine, a nurse, probably. My hand reached for the door handle, relief flooding through me that he was well enough to talk. Then I heard it. He's mine, Logan. She'll never love you like I do. The voice wasn't a nurse's. It was Sabrina's. My hand froze on the cold metal handle. Time stuttered, reality glitching like a broken film reel. That was my best friend's voice, speaking words that couldn't possibly exist in my world. Brina, please. Not here. Emily could. Emily's not coming. You said she was working late. Remember, just like always. Too busy with her precious schedules and her perfect house to notice her husband needs more. The door was open just enough to see inside without being seen. Some primitive instinct kept me frozen there, a witness to my own life's demolition. Logan lay propped up in the hospital bed, his left arm in a sling, a bandage wrapped around his forehead. But it was his right hand that destroyed me, fingers interlaced with Sabrina's as she sat on the edge of his bed, her body angled toward him with an intimacy that screamed of practice. She was wearing the dress I'd helped her pick out last month, the burgundy one that she'd said made her feel confident for her big presentation. Her hair was styled differently, softer, the way Logan had once mentioned he preferred. When had she started wearing it that way? The accident changes things, Logan said, his voice strained. What if someone finds out we were together? What if— Shh. She leaned closer, her free hand touching his face with devastating tenderness. No one knows I was in the car. I left before the ambulance came, just like you told me to. Everyone thinks you were alone, coming back from Murphy's with the guys. Murphy's. With the guys. The lie I'd swallowed without question just hours ago. My phone was still in my hand, the screen showing 9:47 p.m. I wanted to document this moment, this precise second when everything I believed turned to ash. Instead, I pushed the door open. The sound was small, just hinges that needed oil, but it might as well have been a gunshot. They jerked apart like guilty teenagers. Sabrina's hand flying to her chest, Logan's eyes widening with a panic that confirmed everything. Emily! Sabrina stood so fast she knocked over a paper cup of water on the bedside table. "Oh my God, you're here. I was just. Logan called me after the accident and I." Her mouth kept moving, words tumbling out in a desperate avalanche of explanation. Something about being nearby, about wanting to make sure he was okay until I arrived. But her lipstick was smudged, her dress was wrinkled where she'd been pressed against him, and Logan, my husband of 8 years, couldn't even look at me. "How long?" My voice came out steady, clinical, the same tone I used for termination meetings at work. It's not what you," Logan started. "How long?" Sabrina's face crumbled first. The mask she'd been wearing concerned friend, supportive presence slipped away, revealing something I'd never seen before, or maybe something I'd chosen not to see. "Almost a year," she whispered. 11 months. While I'd been making risotto and reorganizing spice racks, they'd been constructing a parallel life. Every girl's night when she'd left early with a headache, every business trip Logan had taken to Sacramento. The weekend I'd gone to my mother's alone because Logan had that unmovable client meeting. The hospital room felt too small, the walls pressing in. The beeping of Logan's monitors became a countdown to something: the end of my marriage, the end of a friendship, the end of who I thought I was. "Emily, please." Logan finally found his voice. "Let me explain. You've been so distant, so focused on work, and Sabrina. She understands me. We never meant for it to happen. Never meant for it to happen." The phrase people use when they've made 1,000 small choices to destroy someone else's life. "You're right," I said, surprising them both. "You never meant for it to happen in front of me, in a hospital room where you couldn't run?" Sabrina reached for me. "Emily, you're my best friend. This is killing me. We need to talk about this like adults." I stepped back from her outstretched hand as if it were contaminated. "We're not friends. I don't know what we ever were. But friends don't do this." The silence that followed was suffocating. Logan's monitors beeped steadily, marking time in this new reality. A nurse appeared in the doorway, took one look at our frozen tableau, and retreated. "I should go," I said, though every movie I'd ever seen suggested I should rage, throw things, demand answers. But this wasn't a movie. This was my life exploding in slow motion, and I needed to get out before the debris hit. "Emily, wait!" Logan struggled to sit up straighter. I turned at the door, looking back at them one last time. They already looked like a couple, her hovering protectively, him reaching for her unconsciously even while calling my name. "The house key," I said to Sabrina. "Leave it at the nurse's station when you go." Then I walked away, my heels clicking against the linoleum with metronomic precision, each step carrying me further from who I'd been when I'd entered this hospital 20 minutes ago. The drive home happened without me. My body operated the car while my mind replayed the hospital room on an endless loop, searching for the moment I should have known. When Sabrina started going to the gym near Logan's office, when they both got interested in wine tasting at the same time, when she'd known he'd switched cologne before I'd noticed. The signs had been there, scattered like breadcrumbs, but I'd been too trusting or too stupid to follow the trail. I sat in my driveway until 2:15 a.m. Engine off, watching my house like it belonged to someone else. The porch light I'd left on for Logan mocked me. Inside, the remnants of my risotto dinner were still on the counter, the wine bottle still uncorked, waiting to celebrate another ordinary Thursday that had turned into the last day of my marriage. Sleep was impossible. I lay in our bed, my bed now staring at the ceiling fan's lazy rotation. My phone erupted with messages starting at midnight. Logan's number, Sabrina's number, alternating like they were taking turns. "Please, let me explain." "Emily, I'm so sorry. Please talk to me." "This isn't what you think." "I never wanted to hurt you. Can we please just talk?" "I love you." That last one from Logan at 3:48 a.m. I turned off my phone and watched dawn creep across the ceiling. By morning, the pain had evolved into something else. Not numbness exactly, but a strange clarity. I called in sick to work first time in 3 years and sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad, writing down everything I could remember from the past 11 months. Logan's mysterious receipts, Sabrina's new interests that mysteriously aligned with his, the weekend conferences that I now realized probably never existed. The more I wrote, the more the pain transformed. It hardened, crystallized into something sharp and useful. They thought I would crumble. They probably pictured me crying into wine bottles, calling my mother, maybe showing up at one of their doors begging for answers. The predictable, devastated wife, following the script they'd unconsciously written for me. But sitting there in my kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my blindness, something else was born. Not forgiveness, not understanding. Something colder, more precise. I wanted them to pay, not in some dramatic burn their clothes on the lawn way. That was too simple, too expected. They'd prepared for that version of me. Sabrina had probably already rehearsed her tearful apologies, her story about how it just happened, how she never meant to fall in love with him. Logan likely had his speech ready about growing apart, about needs not being met, about finding himself. No, I wanted something surgical, clean, devastating. The planning started small. I made lists what I knew, what I needed to know, what would hurt them most, not physically, but in all the ways that mattered to people like them. Logan, whose entire career depended on his reputation as a trustworthy family man. Sabrina, whose social media presence and carefully curated image were her entire brand. My phone, when I finally turned it back on at noon, showed 43 missed calls between them. The text messages had evolved from apologetic to concerned to almost angry. "You can't just disappear, Emily. This is childish. We need to handle this like adults." Adults. As if adultery was the mature choice. I responded to only one message, Logan's latest, "Take your time recovering. I'll be staying with my mother for a few days to think. We'll talk when you're out of the hospital." Let him think I was weak, needed my mother, needed time to process. Let them both think they had time to coordinate their stories, to figure out how to minimize the damage. Saturday morning, I drove past Sabrina's apartment complex. Logan's BMW was in the visitors' parking, exactly where I knew it would be. They were probably inside, comforting each other, planning how to handle me. The thought that should have destroyed me instead filled me with cold satisfaction. Every moment they spent together now was more evidence. Every choice they made thinking I was falling apart was another nail in the coffin they were building for themselves. I took photos of his car there, time-stamped, dated. Then I drove to the office, both our offices. Since Northfield Solutions shared a building with several other companies, including Sabrina's marketing firm, my HR keycard got me into the security office where Mike, the weekend guard who I'd always brought coffee for, didn't question why I needed to review parking garage footage from the past few months. "System keeps everything for a year," he said helpfully, "just in case of insurance claims or whatever." Or whatever. Indeed. By Sunday night, I had 3 months of footage showing Logan's car and Sabrina's leaving within minutes of each other, consistently, at lunch, on days when he'd supposedly been in client meetings, on the Friday when I'd been home with the flu and he'd said he was working late. The transformation was almost complete. The Emily who'd stirred risotto with hope was gone. In her place sat someone I didn't fully recognize, yet someone who smiled while planning destruction, who felt power where there should have been pain. They'd killed something in me in that hospital room, but they'd also awakened something else. My phone buzzed. Sabrina again. "Emily, I'm worried about you. This silence isn't healthy. Please let me know you're okay." I typed back, "I'm better than okay. I'm perfect." Then I deleted it, leaving her on red. Let her wonder. Let her worry. Let her realize that silence could be its own kind of weapon. The real planning could begin now. I had evidence. I had motive. Most importantly, I had something they'd never expected: patience. They thought they knew me, thought they could predict my moves. But the Emily they knew was gone, and the one they'd created She was just getting started. Monday morning. I returned to work with a smile that made my coworkers uncomfortable. "You look different," Maria from accounting said, studying me over her coffee cup. I was different. I'd spent Sunday night with our shared laptop, the one Logan thought I didn't know the password to. He'd been sloppy, arrogant, or maybe just never imagined I'd look. The emails went back 11 months, just like Sabrina had admitted. The first ones were almost innocent coordinating lunch meetings about the Riverside Plaza project where her firm was handling marketing. Then the tone shifted. Inside jokes, dinner invitations. Emily doesn't need to know about this meeting. By February, they were using a shared calendar under fake names. Mr. and Mrs. Davidson. How original. Hotel reservations at the Marriott downtown. The Cypress Resort in Monterey the weekend I'd visited my college roommate in Portland. The Fairmont in San Francisco during Logan's supposed conference. I screenshot everything, uploaded it to 3 different cloud services, and emailed copies to an attorney friend from college who specialized in family law. California was a no-fault divorce state, but judges still considered infidelity during asset division, especially when marital funds were used for affairs. The credit card statements told their own story. Purchases at Victoria's Secret on dates when Sabrina would later post Instagram photos in new lingerie, tagged "self-love", treating myself. Restaurant charges at places Logan claimed he'd been with clients. A jewelry store receipt from August, my birthday month, but I'd received only a gift card to my favorite bookstore. I found the necklace in Sabrina's Instagram posts 2 weeks later. Sometimes you just have to spoil yourself. Tuesday brought a gift Logan's assistant, Jennifer, called me directly. "Emily, I'm probably overstepping, but you've always been kind to me," she said, voice nervous. "I've been uncomfortable with some things Mr. Carter has asked me to do. Booking double reservations, sending flowers to addresses that weren't yours. I kept copies of everything, just in case. Would you want them? Would I want them? I met Jennifer for coffee that afternoon and left with a USB drive containing a year's worth of Logan's professional calendar versus his actual whereabouts. His expense reports. The flowers he'd sent to Sabrina's office signed, 'Your secret admirer' that she'd gushed about on Facebook, playing innocent. He's been different lately," Jennifer said quietly. "Meaner. Like he's annoyed by everything. And that woman from the marketing firm, she calls constantly. Shows up for meetings that aren't on the official calendar." Wednesday. I hired a private investigator. Not for more evidence I had plenty, but for something specific. The investigator, a former cop named Diane, looked at my evidence pile and whistled. "Honey, you've already done my job." "What do you need me for?" "I want to know if there are others. If this is a pattern, and I want to know things about her that she wouldn't want public." Diane's report, delivered Friday, was illuminating. Sabrina had been the other woman before, twice. Her ex-fiancé from 3 years ago had called off their wedding after discovering her affair with his business partner. The pattern was always the same: befriend the wife, get close to the husband, play the understanding friend who gets him in ways his wife doesn't. Logan's history was cleaner but not spotless. A harassment complaint at his previous job, quietly settled. The woman had claimed emotional manipulation and professional retaliation when she'd ended their affair. It had been buried with money and NDAs, but Diane had ways of finding buried things. Saturday. I visited my lawyer officially. Patricia Winters had handled my father's estate and came highly recommended for divorces that could turn ugly. "Infidelity doesn't automatically affect asset division," she explained, "but the financial deception does. Using marital assets for an affair, hiding money, making large purchases without spousal consent that matters. And this," she gestured to my evidence binders, "this is what we call a slam dunk." We discussed strategy. Logan made more money, but I'd brought inheritance property into the marriage rental income he'd been managing but couldn't touch in a divorce. The house was joint, but the down payment had come from my father's life insurance. His 401k had grown during our marriage, making half of it mine. The BMW he loved so much marital asset. "What about a post-nuptial agreement?" Patricia asked. Sometimes guilty spouses will sign anything to avoid the full exposure of divorce court. No, I said firmly. I want court. I want public records. I want everyone to know exactly who they are. Sunday night, Logan came home. His arm was still in a sling, the bruises on his face fading to yellow-green. He looked older, tired, like the week had aged him years. Good. Emily, we need to talk. I was reading on the couch, didn't look up. I ended it with her. It's over. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake. You're my wife. I choose you. Now I looked at him. Really looked. He'd practiced this speech, probably in Sabrina's bed. The emphasis on choose, like he was doing me a favor, like I should be grateful to win the competition I hadn't known I was in. How noble of you, I said, returning to my book. Emily, please, don't you think we should try counseling for 8 years of marriage? 8 years? 3,000 nights of sleeping beside someone who could lie to me for 11 months without blinking. 8 years of building a life with someone who could risk it all for Wednesday afternoon hotel rooms. Logan, I said calmly, turning a page. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. When I do, you'll know. Until then, the guest room is made up. He stood there for another minute, waiting for tears, for anger, for something he could work with. But I gave him nothing, and eventually, he retreated to the guest room. I heard him on the phone minutes later, probably telling Sabrina I was being unreasonable and cold. Cold. Yes, I was cold now. Cold like a surgeon before the first cut. Cold like winter coming for autumn's false warmth. They had no idea how cold I could be. Tomorrow, I would start phase 2, the reveal dinner. But tonight, I sat with my evidence, my plans, my new self, and felt something I hadn't expected: excitement. They'd taken my marriage and my best friend, but they'd given me purpose, and I was going to make sure they regretted it for the rest of their lives. The invitations went out Monday morning, handwritten on the expensive stationery I'd been saving for something special. This certainly qualified. Dear family and friends, after a challenging few weeks, Logan and I would love to have you join us for dinner this Saturday at 7 p.m. Life is too short for misunderstandings and too precious for broken bonds. We hope you'll come share an evening of reconciliation and new beginnings. With love, Emily. I hand-delivered Sabrina's to her office, catching her assistant at the front desk. Make sure she gets this today. It's important. The guest list was carefully curated. Logan's parents, David and Patricia. My mother and sister. Sabrina's parents, she'd kill me for inviting them, but that was the point. 3 couples from our friend group who'd always admired our perfect marriage. Logan's brother Marcus and his wife. Sabrina's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Derek, who she'd been stringing along for 2 years. He didn't know about Logan. Yet, by Wednesday, the RSVPs were in. Everyone was coming, eager to witness what they assumed would be a beautiful reconciliation. Logan was pathetically grateful when I told him about the dinner. This means everything to me, he said over breakfast, reaching for my hand. I let him take it, even squeezed back. I knew you'd forgive me. We're stronger than one mistake. One mistake. 11 months of calculated deception reduced to one mistake. I smiled at him, the kind of smile I'd been practicing in the mirror, warm enough to be believable, cold enough to satisfy me. I want everything to be perfect, I said. Why don't you wear that blue shirt I bought you for Christmas, the one that brings out your eyes? He actually teared up. Of course, whatever you want. Thursday. I called Sabrina directly. She answered on the 5th ring, voice cautious. Emily. Oh my God, I'm so glad you called. I need you there Saturday. I cut in, my tone businesslike. We need to clear the air, all 3 of us, but with support around us, neutral ground. Are you sure that's a good idea? With everyone there. I think transparency is important, don't you? No more secrets. The pause was delicious. Of course, no more secrets. I'll be there. Wonderful. And Sabrina. Wear that burgundy dress. You know the one. Friday was preparation day. I hired the same catering company we'd used for our 5th anniversary party. Ordered flowers from the shop where Logan had been sending Sabrina bouquets. Selected wine from the vintner we'd discovered on our honeymoon bottles we'd been saving for special occasions. The slideshow took 6 hours to perfect. I'd learned from Patricia the lawyer that California was a 2-party consent state for recording, but photos taken in public and screenshots of messages sent to me were fair game. I crafted the presentation like a story starting with happy couple photos, slowly introducing evidence, building to the undeniable truth. The pacing was crucial. Too fast and people might not believe it. Too slow and Logan or Sabrina might find a way to stop it. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly, pathetic fallacy at its finest. I spent the morning at the salon, getting my hair and nails done. The manicurist commented on how relaxed I seemed. Special occasion tonight? The most special, I assured her. By 5 p.m., the house was immaculate. The dining room table set with our wedding china, candles creating pools of warm light. The 60-inch TV I'd had mounted on the dining room wall that week was hidden behind a silk screen I'd bought specifically for tonight. Logan had questioned it, but I'd brushed him off with something about renovation plans. I dressed carefully. The black dress from our anniversary 2 years ago, the last one before Sabrina had started sleeping with my husband. Pearl earrings from my grandmother. The perfume Logan had complimented on our first date. Every detail a reminder of what they'd destroyed. Logan emerged from the guest room at 6:30, wearing the blue shirt as requested. He looked hopeful, nervous, younger somehow. For a moment, I saw the man I'd married. Then I remembered the emails, the hotel receipts, the lies, and the moment passed. "You look beautiful," he said softly. "I know," I replied, adjusting my wedding ring. I'd worn it specifically for tonight, one last performance. The doorbell rang at 6:45. My mother and sister, early as always. Mom hugged me tight, whispered, "Whatever you're planning, I'm proud of you." She knew. Mothers always know. By 7:15, everyone had arrived except Sabrina. We waited in the living room, making small talk. Everyone carefully not mentioning the obvious tension. Logan kept checking his phone, probably texting her. At 7:23, she arrived, breathless and beautiful in the burgundy dress, carrying an expensive bottle of wine like a peace offering. "Sorry I'm late, traffic was horrible." She avoided my eyes, gravitating toward the safety of others, air-kissing friends, complimenting Patricia Carter's new haircut. "Shall we move to the dining room?" I suggested, my hostess smile perfectly in place. The seating arrangement was deliberate. Logan at one end, me at the other, Sabrina in the middle where everyone could see her, Derek beside her, close enough to watch her face when everything unraveled. The first course was served butternut squash soup, Sabrina's favorite. She took it as a peace offering, relaxing slightly. Logan raised his wine glass. "I'd like to propose a toast," he began, standing. "To family, to forgiveness, and to new beginnings." "Actually," I said, standing as well, "I'd like to say something first." The room fell silent. This was it, the moment before the explosion, when everyone sensed something coming but couldn't quite identify the danger. 8 years ago, I married my best friend. And for 15 years, I've had a sister in all but blood. Tonight is about truth, about showing appreciation for the people in our lives who've shown us who they really are. Sabrina's face had gone pale. Logan was frozen, glass still raised. "So before we toast to new beginnings," I continued, moving toward the silk screen, "I'd like to share some memories from the past year. A sort of retrospective." I pulled away the screen, revealing the TV, pressed play on the remote I'd been concealing in my pocket. The slideshow began with our wedding photo, Logan and me, radiant, surrounded by family, Sabrina as my maid of honor, smiling beside us. "This," I narrated calmly, was before. The room held its breath as the story unfolded frame by frame, the truth spreading like spilled wine across white linen. The second slide showed Logan's Outlook calendar. January 15th, client meeting at Riverside Plaza. The next slide security footage timestamp showing Logan's car entering Sabrina's apartment complex at 2:13 p.m. that same day. Interesting client meeting location, I said conversationally. Sabrina's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering against her plate. The red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. Emily, please. We're just getting started. The slides continued their relentless march. February, weekend conference in Sacramento, matched with a Marriott receipt for a king suite. 2 guests. March, Sabrina's Instagram post wearing new lingerie, followed by Logan's credit card statement showing a purchase at Victoria's Secret 3 days prior. That's enough! Logan stood, his chair scraping against the floor. Emily, this is insane! You're humiliating yourself. Am I sit down, Logan? Or the next slide goes to your company's board of directors. He sat. My mother-in-law gasped as the April evidence appeared photos of them at the Cypress Resort. The weekend I'd been caring for my sick mother. They were kissing by the pool, his wedding ring nowhere to be seen. Oh my God, Derek breathed beside Sabrina. You said you were at a wellness retreat. The May slides were particularly damning. Email screenshots. Last night was incredible. Emily suspected nothing. I hate pretending to be her friend. How much longer? Soon, baby. After the Peterson deal closes, I'll have enough to leave. Sabrina's mother stood abruptly. I can't watch this. But she didn't leave. Nobody left. They were all transfixed by the slow-motion demolition. June brought the jewelry store receipt. The necklace Sabrina wore in her self-love post. Logan's assistant's testimony in writing, confirming he'd had it delivered to Sabrina's office. You gave her my birthday present. My voice cracked for the first time, not with sadness but with fury I'd been containing for 2 weeks. July through September was a montage parking garage footage, restaurant receipts, hotel confirmations. The Fairmont bill was particularly interesting room service for 2, champagne, couples massage. During Logan's conference, the conference where you presented on building trust in client relations, I added. Ironic. October was the grand finale, screenshots of their shared calendar as Mr. and Mrs. Davidson. The Thursday night Lakers game at Murphy's that never happened instead. Timestamps showing both cars at the St. Anne's Medical Center parking garage an hour before the accident. You weren't with the guys, I stated. You were with her when you crashed. The room erupted. You lying piece of shit. Derek lunged across the table at Logan, knocking over candles. Marcus grabbed his brother, holding him back. Patricia Carter was crying, asking Logan how he could do this. David Carter sat stone-faced, aging 10 years in 10 minutes. Sabrina's father pulled her mother toward the door, muttering about knowing she'd pull this shit again. But I wasn't finished. There's more, I announced. And the room stilled. The final slides were Diane the investigator's findings. Sabrina's pattern screenshots from her ex-fiancé's Facebook post about discovering her affair. The harassment complaint against Logan from his previous job, carefully redacted but damning. You're both predators, I said into the silence. You hunt in pairs now, apparently. Sabrina was sobbing ugly, mascara-streaming sobs that would have moved me 3 weeks ago. Emily, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We never meant... Never meant what? Never meant to get caught. Never meant to fall in love. I laughed, harsh and bitter. Or never meant to destroy the person who loved you both most. Logan tried one last manipulation. Emily, yes, I had an affair. But this public humiliation, it's beneath you. What about our vows? What about for better or worse? You're right about the vows, I said, walking slowly toward him. I particularly remember the part about forsaking all others, but you know what I'm grateful. You two taught me something valuable. I stood before him now, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. You taught me that love isn't blind, it chooses to be. That trust isn't naive, it's brave. And that when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them. I turned to address the room. These people who'd been part of our lives, our witnesses. I invited you all here tonight not for reconciliation, but for revelation. You deserve to know who you've been sharing your lives with. What you do with that information is your choice. Moving toward the door, I stopped beside Sabrina. She looked destroyed, her perfect facade in ruins. The house key, I said quietly. You never returned it. With shaking hands, she pulled it from her purse, the keychain I'd given her, sisters by choice, still attached. I took it, then dropped it in the ruins of her wine glass. Get out of my house, both of you. Logan found his voice. This is my house, too. I corrected. Patricia Winters will be in touch Monday. I suggest you both lawyer up. The room remained frozen as I walked out, leaving them in the wreckage. Behind me, I heard Derek's fist finally connect with Logan's jaw. Sabrina's wailing, my mother-in-law's sharp condemnation of her son. I grabbed my coat and purse, already packed for a hotel stay. As I reached my car, my sister Sarah caught up. Emily, wait. I'm fine. Sarah. I know, she said, smiling through tears. That was magnificent, horrible and magnificent. From inside, we could hear shouting, more glass breaking, chaos consuming the perfect dinner party. Where will you go? Sarah asked. Forward, I said, getting into my car. For the first time in 11 months, I'm going forward. As I drove away, I saw neighbors gathering on their lawns, drawn by the commotion. By tomorrow, everyone would know. Logan's reputation, Sabrina's carefully curated image destroyed in one evening, just as they'd destroyed my marriage over 11 months. I didn't feel vindicated yet. That would come later. But I felt something better free. Monday morning arrived with surgical precision at 8 a.m. sharp. Patricia Winters filed the divorce petition at the courthouse. By 8:30, Logan was being served at his office. I'd made sure to time it during the weekly partners meeting. The process server later told Patricia that the entire conference room had gone silent when Logan opened the envelope. The petition included everything 11 months of evidence meticulously documented: financial fraud, adultery with dates and locations, misuse of marital assets. Patricia had attached the investigator's report as an exhibit. It was public record now, anyone could read it. By noon, Sabrina's professional world was crumbling. Derek, in his rage, had posted on LinkedIn professionally worded but devastating. When you discover your partner of 2 years has been having an affair with a married man while pretending to be his wife's best friend, it really makes you reconsider who to trust in business and life. The marketing world in Crescent Harbor was small. Within hours, 3 clients had called Sabrina's firm expressing concerns about company values. Her boss, Miranda, called her into a meeting at 2 p.m. By 3, Sabrina was escorted from the building with a banker's box of personal items. The official reason was restructuring, but everyone knew. Logan appeared at the house that evening while I was packing his things. I'd been methodical, his clothes in garment bags, toiletries in labeled boxes. The watches I'd bought him in their original cases. No dramatics, no cut-up suits or bleached shirts. That would have been emotional. This was business. Emily, please, can we talk? I continued folding his ties, the yellow one I'd given him for our 5th anniversary, the blue stripe from his birthday last year. Your attorney can talk to mine. The whole office knows. The partners are discussing my position. You've ruined my career. I laughed, genuinely amused. I ruined your career. I didn't make you file false expense reports for your affair. I didn't make you use the company card at hotels with your mistress. I simply provided documentation. This is vengeful, spiteful. This is accountability, I corrected, taping another box shut. You should recognize it. You used to lecture clients about it. He grabbed my wrist as I passed, not hard, but enough to stop me. I loved you. Despite everything, I loved you. I looked at his hand on my wrist, then up at his face. The man I'd married was a ghost overlaying this stranger. "You loved the idea of me," I said quietly. "The wife who made you look good, the home that impressed your clients, the stability that let you play risk-free. But love doesn't lie for 11 months. Love doesn't fuck your wife's best friend in beds paid for with joint accounts." He released me, stepping back. "What about Sabrina? What are you doing to her?" "Nothing. Sabrina is destroying herself quite efficiently." It was true. Her Instagram had exploded with comments before she deleted it entirely. Her ex-fiancé had reached out to me, sharing his own story, which I'd forwarded to Derek with permission. Her parents weren't speaking to her. Even the yoga studio had quietly removed her from their instructor roster after several clients complained they were uncomfortable. "You've turned everyone against us." "No," I said, sealing the last box. "I turned on the lights. What everyone saw was always there." Wednesday brought unexpected satisfaction. Jennifer, Logan's assistant, called to inform me she'd given notice. "I can't work for him anymore," she said. "Not after seeing how he treated you. My sister went through something similar. I should have said something sooner." "You said something when it mattered," I assured her. "That's brave." She paused. "There's a position opening in my friend's company, executive coordinator. The pay is better. If you need a reference, send me the details. I'll make some calls." By Thursday, the financial audit Patricia had requested revealed more than expected. Logan had opened a separate account 6 months ago, slowly siphoning money from his bonuses. Not enough to notice monthly, but it totaled $30,000. California law wouldn't look kindly on hidden assets during divorce proceedings. "This changes things," Patricia said over the phone. "Judges despise financial deception. We're looking at a very favorable settlement now." Favorable was an understatement. The house would be mine. My down payment and his deception sealed that. Alimony was off the table due to his higher income and infidelity. The hidden account would be split, but the penalties would come from his portion. His $401k accumulated during marriage would be divided. The BMW, still being paid from joint funds, could be sold, or he could buy out my half at market value. Friday afternoon, Sabrina appeared at my office. Security called up, uncertain. I almost refused. Then curiosity won. She looked hollowed out, designer clothes hanging loose, makeup unable to hide the shadows under her eyes. We stood in the lobby. I wouldn't give her the dignity of privacy. "I lost everything," she said without preamble. "My job, Derek, my friends, my reputation, even my parents." "Good." She flinched. "I deserve that." "I deserve all of it. But Emily, you have to know it wasn't supposed to happen." "Oh, please," I said, checking my watch. "Which part? The first lunch, the first kiss, the first time you fucked him, or the 11th month of lying to my face?" "I fell in love." "You fell in lust with something that wasn't yours. Again. This is your pattern. Sabrina, you did it to Melissa's fiancé. You did it to me, and you'll do it again because you're empty. You need other people's happiness to fill the void where your soul should be." Her tears started then, but I felt nothing. The woman I'd loved like a sister was a fiction, a character she'd played for 15 years. "I need a reference," she whispered, "for new jobs. No one will hire me without, you want me to recommend you after everything. Please, I'll leave California. I'll go back east. You'll never see me again." I studied her, this stranger wearing my former friend's face. "I'll give you one reference," I said finally. "One. For a position at least 500 miles away, the reference will be honest, you're talented at marketing, weak on ethics, take it or leave it." She nodded quickly, desperately. "Thank you, Emily. I leave now, or I call security." She fled, and I knew with certainty I'd never see her again. That chapter was closed, that person erased from my future. Saturday. I signed the settlement papers. Logan had caved on everything rather than go to trial where the evidence would be presented in detail. He kept his retirement account and personal belongings. I kept everything else: the house, the investments, my dignity. As Patricia explained the final terms, I thought about the Emily from 2 months ago, stirring risotto and believing in forever. She wouldn't recognize the woman signing these papers with steady hands. "Any regrets?" Patricia asked as we finished. "Just one," I admitted. "I regret not trusting my instincts sooner." "The instincts that told you something was wrong." "No," I said, standing to leave. "The instincts that told me I was stronger than they imagined." The moving truck arrived at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, exactly 2 months after the hospital revelation. I didn't need it. The house was mine, but I'd decided to sell. Too many ghosts walked these halls. Too many memories embedded in the walls. The new owners, a young couple expecting their first child, would move in next month. They'd paint over the colors Logan and I had chosen, hang new pictures where our wedding photos once lived, create their own dreams in rooms where mine had died. I kept only what mattered: my grandmother's china, my father's desk, photo albums from before the contamination. Everything else: the furniture we'd selected together, the art we'd collected on trips, the carefully curated life of Mr. and Mrs. Carter would be donated or sold. Box by box, I erased 8 years. It should have hurt more, but each sealed carton felt like shedding dead skin. Necessary, liberating. My sister Sarah helped, along with my mother and 2 friends who'd stood by me through the aftermath. We worked in comfortable silence, occasionally punctuated by observations like, "Remember when you bought this?" or "Didn't Logan hate this vase?" Past tense. Everything about Logan was past tense now. At noon, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then recognized the area code Boston, Sabrina's hometown. "Made it to Boston. Starting over. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me, not for my sake, but for yours. Carrying anger is heavy. You deserve to put it down. S." I deleted the message without responding. Forgiveness wasn't mine to give yet. Maybe someday. But not today. Today was about forward motion. The house was empty by 4 p.m. I walked through each room one last time, my footsteps echoing off bare walls. The kitchen where I'd cooked that last risotto dinner. The living room where we'd opened Christmas presents. The bedroom where we'd made love and lies with equal passion. The guest room where he'd slept those final weeks, probably texting her while I lay alone down the hall. In the dining room. I paused. The wall where I'd mounted the TV for the revelation dinner had small holes from the mounting bracket. The new owners would patch them, never knowing they marked the spot where a marriage officially ended and a woman was reborn. I found Logan's wedding ring on the mantel. He'd left it behind when he collected his things, probably intentionally. Some dramatic gesture hoping for equally dramatic response. I picked it up, weighed it in my palm. Such a small circle to represent such large promises. I left it there, let the new owners decide its fate. My new apartment was across town, a converted loft with exposed brick and windows that faced east. I'd wake with the sun now instead of hiding in suburban shadows. The space was entirely mine, decorated with colors Logan would have hated, furniture he would have called impractical, art that spoke to my soul rather than our image. That evening, I sat on my new balcony with a glass of wine, not the expensive bottles we'd saved for special occasions, but something I'd chosen simply because I liked the label. The city spread before me, lights beginning to twinkle as Sunday surrendered to Monday. My phone rang. Logan. I'd kept his number unblocked out of legal necessity, but this would be the last time. "What do you want?" Logan. "I heard you're selling the house." "Sold. Past tense." A pause. "Where will you go?" "Forward." "Emily, He stopped, started again. "Sabrina left, went back east. I'm alone." "You were alone when you were with her, and with me. You've always been alone, Logan, because you can't be honest long enough to let anyone really know you." "That's not fair." "Goodbye, Logan." I blocked his number then. A small act that felt monumental. No more midnight apologies. No more attempts at manipulation. No more windows into his world. The sun set completely, and I remained on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket that had never touched his skin. Below, the city hummed with life people loving, losing, surviving, thriving. I was part of that now, that river of humanity moving toward tomorrow. My marriage was over. My fake friendship was dead. The life I'd planned was ashes. But sitting there in my new space, with my new view, in my new existence, I felt something I hadn't expected: gratitude. Not for the betrayal, I'd never be grateful for that cruelty, but for the revelation it brought, for discovering I was stronger than I'd known, smarter than I'd acted, worth more than they'd valued, for learning that the best revenge isn't destruction, but reconstruction, building something better from the ruins they created. I raised my wine glass to the sky, toasting no one and everyone. "Thank you," I said to Logan and Sabrina, wherever they were. "Thank you for showing me who you really are. Thank you for forcing me to discover who I really am. Thank you for setting me free." A text from Sarah appeared. "Proud of you, sis. The best is yet to come." I smiled, believing it for the first time. The Emily who'd trusted blindly was gone. The Emily who'd loved completely was wounded, but not dead. The Emily who'd risen from betrayal was just beginning. Tomorrow I'd wake in my new home, go to my job where I was respected, live my life where I was valued. I'd date when I was ready, trust when it was earned, love when it was safe. But tonight, I sat with my wine and my view and my freedom, and knew with absolute certainty I didn't lose a husband. I didn't lose a best friend. I lost dead weight, and I'd never felt lighter. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it resonated with those who faced betrayal and found their strength on the other side. Where are you listening from? I'd love to know. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story moved you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you experienced something similar? How did you find your power again? Your stories matter too, and this community is here for all of us who've chosen to rise rather than crumble. Until next time, remember, the best revenge is a life well lived.